life happens in cycles. Knowing which part of the cycle we're in is going to make it so that our actions become a lot more efficient. And not knowing what cycles we are a part of probably just means that we don't know ourselves very well. And if we don't know ourselves very well, we don't know where we're headed. We don't know what we want in our life. So I went floating today with a good friend of mine, a mentor of mine, and I got to experience something that I haven't had the opportunity to experience ever in my life. And I'm always looking forward to those situations because they show me what I've learned so far, what I'm capable of, the wisdom, I suppose, that I've accrued in the time in between trying something completely different and new. So for those of you that don't know what floating is, it's basically you go into a specialized facility or you buy the tank yourself and you go and float in some salt water with specific solutions with the lights off. It's also called sensory deprivation. And the idea is to completely relax you, and it's supposed to be different for every single person. You know, you're supposed to go into it with your own philosophy, obviously, and have your own conclusions from it. And I'll tell you that the part of the cycle that I'm in currently is one where I am doubting the things that I set into motion, right? So the things that I do every day feel rote. They feel sometimes difficult to perform because they don't feel unique anymore. And this part of the cycle, coined by Alex Ramosi, is called the Valley of Despair. The part where you must grind through and you must do plenty of work before you see any dividends. And this is the part of the cycle that most people avoid because they hate it, because it's very, very difficult for them to rationalize persisting. The goal, the why, isn't strong enough for them to rationalize persisting. But me being someone that wants to be stronger, have a stronger mental reserve, and reach the ultimate goal, which is a more spiritual self, a more virtuous individual, I will persist. But knowing part of the cycle is important. There's, if you're curious about what the cycles mean, imagine parts of your life where you're excited to go out and adventure, try new things. Imagine parts of your life where you are less inclined to be social, less excited about things. Parts of your life where you're more creative, where you're more loving. Every one of us has slightly different augmentations, but really you can just chart the course of your emotional development over the years and realize that oftentimes you will fall into very similar mindsets as you were in prior years. I don't know how long these cycles are particularly, but from my understanding so far, it's probably about 2 years. But knowing exactly how you feel in that state, exactly how you want to go about utilizing your life and your time, I think is super helpful in order to feel satisfied with your certain emotional state, you know? It's part of knowing yourself, I guess. Part of acknowledging that you're an incredibly complex, beautiful organism that requires change in order to adapt and grow. I had a really deep conversation with my mentor actually afterwards about why we're here on this planet, and we both voiced our opinions. But I liked his particularly, that he said that humanity is in a state currently that we need to explore our spiritual side. That we have done the growing, the technology, the building up infrastructure. Obviously, we will continue to do that, but we are proficient at it, at the very least. And there is a part of us that has always been running parallel to that, which is, in a lot of people's minds, spirituality and religion is connected. And in my mind, I was raised Muslim. I was taught the teachings of the Quran and how to pray and this and that. But over time, as my dad passed away when I was 9 years old, and I started philosophizing more and more about life, I kind of forgot about this concept of God until a little bit later on in my life, where I realized I need something to believe in order to ground myself and provide therapy for myself when life doesn't seem to be going exactly the way that I want it to. And that's where I started reaching out to nature and really getting into the spirituality of a connected community. And I agree with my mentor. I mean, there is part of the reason I started this YouTube channel, Tarabify, is to provide anyone that listens with tools to help build emotional intelligence, to tell them that, hey, the things that you think about casually are not necessarily incorrect, right? That there's other human beings, very successful, thought-provoking human beings that also have these thoughts, and that us not being alone in these thoughts is actually a very good thing, because it means that there is substance to them. Essentially, that the spiritual aspect of ourselves, the part of our cycle that demands us to connect back to who we are as people, is super, super, super important. It's kind of the rebound, right? It's like, imagine a trampoline, right? You need to get the potential energy back to go into the world and really do it with some gusto. I've also been reading a book, Atlas Shrugged, by Ayn Rand, and it's a book that talks a lot about capitalism and business mindsets, but it also talks a lot about the fact that society of late, especially in the West, people are not particularly excited about life anymore. We speed through things, but we speed because we're running from something rather than being excited about where we're going. Something that I've noticed quite a bit, and I've never really been able to put words to it, and that's why I love reading so much, because writers have this beautiful way of putting words, like I'm trying to do about the spirituality, to concepts that we might be brewing in our head and maybe trying to understand, but we just don't have the succinct words for it, because we believe that those thoughts are superfluous, that they're not substantial, really, or that a lot of people aren't thinking about them. So I encourage you, if you are thinking about things all the time, if you're a philosopher in any capacity, and you haven't had a chance to go and discuss these things with other people, and haven't really found like-minded individuals to discuss these things with, to go and read some books, to go and find speeches, TED Talks, things where people have spent years of their time putting words to these beautiful things that all of us as human beings go through, a part of this kind of collected consciousness, in order to build up your own vocabulary, in order to build up your own understanding of your soul. An essential part of our current progression as humans, as per my mentor. But yeah, cycles in life, super, super important to understand. And the easiest way to understand it is to look back at what you have done, maybe some breakups that you've gone through, times in your life where you have maybe failed in your eyes or succeeded, and what type of emotional state kind of led to those outcomes. Without this kind of self-reflection, this metacognition, we're going to have a very difficult time as a society beginning to be compassionate about other individuals that are human beings, but also just about the world as a whole. Part of understanding our own cycles is understanding that everything in nature goes through cycles, that we are not somehow unique or alone in this world, that organisms and life forms have persisted this way for billions of years, and it is a part of the evolution process. So food for thought. And if you're looking for maybe a little definition of spirituality or how to get into it, here's a video right over here where I talk about it in depth. I hope you enjoyed. Remember, actualize your potential. We need you. Take care.